What? Okay, so I'm sodomizing these guys like super hard. I'm doing one guy from behind, and another guy is doing me from behind. Okay, but I'm also like reaching around and stroking this guy, the guy I'm doing from behind. I'm massaging his penis, and I'm grabbing his sperm that's coming out, and it's just jutting out because we're all super turned on. And I'm just mashing it into his hair and like styling his hair into devil horns. Okay, and this bucket is just getting more and more filled with like spit and sperm, and I'm being super aggressive, like almost like torturing these guys. Like they seem like they're not going to get out of there, sodomizing them and stuff like that. Okay, so it's like really great.
Welcome to the Fantasy Cast podcast, where three grown men pass the time by sharing their deepest, darkest fantasies. Here we go.
Yeah, how you guys?
Can I
How you
start
guys
off
doing?
with
Go ahead.
good? I just want to discuss something we talked about a little bit in our GC group chat.
Yeah.
I saw something pretty crazy the other day in line at the cafe. I dropped my daughter off at daycare, and I decided to treat myself to a coffee and my wife a matcha latte and a couple of donuts because we had the day off. I get there, I walk into the cafe, and I get in line behind someone. Okay. And I notice this person has a lot of tattoos. They have kind of a alternative look to them.
Mm-hmm.
And on the back of their bicep, they had a tattoo. And it was, let me describe it to you. It was an ice cream cone with a banner wrapped around it. Have you guys seen tattoos like this?
Oh yeah.
So if you can imagine like a double-decker ice cream cone.
Yeah.
Yummy, right? Nothing wrong with that. Great.
Nothing wrong with that at all.
Totally reasonable tattoo.
A+ tattoo. Yeah.
10 inches tall, 3 inches wide. But what really struck me was the banner that was on it. It said, riots, fine, whatever, not, diets. So again, it said, riots, not diets. This person prefers to riot looting a Neiman Marcus,
Mm-hmm.
a CVS, a Walgreens,
Yeah.
trashing the downtown area where you live,
Yeah. Injuring a security guard.
attacking security guards, people that are just probably down on their luck, ex-cons trying to make a living for their family, janitors, other maintenance people, or hell, the people that work at a CVS or Target. They would rather torture these people, burn them alive, steal things, than just slightly curb their sugar intake. You know, I don't know if this person was pre-diabetic. I don't know if this person had any other health problems, but
This is a man or a woman?
It was a woman.
Okay, of course. Of course. Do you have like a big, like Betty Boop style clothing? A sundress, big bangs.
They were wearing what I could get. I was rubbing my face, like just like I was in shock. I was like,
Yeah.
hurt me.
I can picture it.
I was really uncomfortable. They were wearing like a tank top, and they had glasses, curly hair. That's all I could tell. Okay.
Yeah.
And it just was. It scared me. I feel like, you know, when I'm getting older, I don't quite understand a lot of what's going on with the internet and what people. Maybe it's like a meme or something. I don't know. I don't.
Yeah. Well, I picture that for you, that must have been particularly sensitive because you're on a pretty strict diet because of your celiacs. So you see somebody, who's kind of making light of people that have to go on diets for various health reasons, in your case, potentially fatal, and making light of it and saying, oh, no, that you can't do that. Instead, you have to, violently push back against, whatever political oppressor is in front of you.
Yeah, it's confusing because I couldn't imagine giving up I couldn't imagine making space to cause destruction like that at the cost of I don't have celiac disease. I thought I had some sort of like wheat intolerance at some point.
Yeah.
Earlier on. You guys seem to think I have. I was toying with the idea. I was like, maybe I have celiac disease.
Yeah.
It was a concern of mine. It's more something I should have shared with my wife, not with you guys.
Oh man, Master Flex 88 in the chat is saying that if they would have seen that person, they would have started to lick the tattoo. What do you guys think about that?
I say that's definitely something, attention-seeking statement from someone at a chat of 20 people.
We're up to 35
that's not
now.
Cool.
Yeah. I think
who else is in there?
That's kind of like
they're doing like Nazi
tiny
stuff.
Tiny Days is in there. Ralph Lowe. I see Raz Paz 88 in the same like online crew. And yeah, just kind of like some of the regulars. Another guy says ice cream and riots don't go together. Another guy says that who does she think she is? She should have been waiting in line at the long pier off of the long walk off of the short pier. That's not cool.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that about this person. I wouldn't wish harm on this person. I respect their point of view, and part of respecting is what's so confusing about it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to imagine taking that statement in any kind of way. With humor, with like tongue in cheek, like those two are not reason enough to get the tattoo. As a political statement, it makes no sense, incoherent. It's just a weird decision, and you're right to be extremely confused and angry. And I know you said that when you went home and you're telling your wife, you started to break down.
Yeah, I started like shaking, almost crying.
Yeah, what was that about?
I think it just has to do when you have a kid, you start to you're a little more disconnected. It's like I can't work, raise a kid, take care of my relationship, and like be in touch with the underground culture here. You know what I mean? It's just one thing too many that I can't keep up with. And I used to be very politically active. I did Food Not Bombs. I used to arrange hardcore shows to give to people in Gaza. I would do fundraising work at a nonprofit, soup kitchen, all the good things a person like me could do. And now I can't really do that. So maybe I'm afraid I'm turning like a little more conservative,
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's what scares me. I'm turning into my father, my upper middle class father who was a doctor and got into real estate later on in his life. And I hated him with a fiery passion. He gave me everything I could have ever wanted, and that just the more he gave me, the more it made me hysterical and crazy, and just reminded me that like he robbed me of my story. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
By whatever, I don't want to get into it. That's a story for a different time. John, what's going on with you? I don't really want to talk about myself anymore. I'm kind of getting. What's going on with you guys?
Not much.
Nothing much. John Wax in the chat is saying relates to your story, you should have turned up the heat on that coffee shop, and then 2 gun emojis.
Okay, so you have a young person in the chat saying to open fire, cause a shoot up the place, a shooter situation. Is this a joke? Is this?
I don't even know these days.
I really don't know. This is.
I don't know where all these people came from. Yeah.
Is this Edge? Is this Edge King stuff? I don't get it.
Yeah. Hard to say. Hard to know.
You said that was John Wax? So you called him?
John Wax.
John Wax.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like John Wick, but John Wax.
Yeah.
And his emoji, his avatar is like a turntables.
Cool.
So he's like spinning wax. Yeah, so he's maybe like a DJ or something.
Yeah.
Okay. John,
He just said fuck you, Nathan. Yeah, fuck you too, John Wax. Well, I've got a little something I've been thinking about. Can I just hit you guys with something? It's not my fantasy, but it's just something I like. So you guys remember last summer was dildo summer, right?
Dildo summer, it's a dildo summer. Undercoat surprise, my brother. Dildo summer, it's a dildo summer. Hidden smiles, but undercover.
It's another dildo summer. Dildo days are back again, and I was just thinking about like what a lot of people. So talking about these young guys in the chat, like, okay, you're sitting here in the chat. It's 1:30 on a Wednesday, 1:30 in the afternoon on a Wednesday. We're here recording. You guys are, just bumming around, presumably not working or anything, watching us, listening to us. And I just thought of it, like, if you got into the business, like you go to a sleepy town somewhere, right? Only like 2% of towns in the whole United States have dildo stores, right? You find a town, like a pretty decent sized market, and you open up a dildo store. Nothing fancy, just like a good, honest, solid dildo for a reasonable price, right? Buy for $1, sell for $2. Nothing crazy. And you just sit there and you, day in and day out, and you post up and you sell dildos to people. That's sure money. You know what I mean? It's not quick money. It's not fancy money, but you'll make enough money to retire on. You'll make enough money to have a family. You'll make enough money to send your kids to college. Dildo money is some of the most consistent money you can imagine because there's always going to be a need for dildos. And if you're not trying to do any of this fancy shit, you're not trying to like reinvent the wheel, and you're just selling a solid, honest dildo for an honest price, you're going to do all right.
Okay, so you're saying. So this is like a financial tip.
Yeah, it's a financial tip for all these incels and freaks that have somehow found their way into our chat. Which has tripled in size, so they must be like telling their friends to come in.
You're telling them
edgy.
You're telling them to open up a dildo shop.
Yeah, just set up like go to whatever mall. That every town in America has got like a little strip mall area, and there's always an empty vacant building in there. Just open up a dildo store. Nothing fancy. You sell maybe 10 dildos, right? You got the magic wand, you start there, and you just kind of like build around it. Magic wand in itself
gives you like a sense of purpose at the end of the day.
Yeah. Yeah. You go in there, somebody comes in there and they tell you about, this dildo you sold me really worked, and I'm reconnected with my partner and we're doing all this fun stuff. That feels good. Like, you might not be getting pussy yourself, but at least you can help other people feel good.
And I bet you'd probably get some eventually working in a shop like that.
Yeah. You'd eventually get some pussy. So that's another thing that you guys in the chat, instead of hanging out here posting edgy memes, you can go open yourself a dildo store, make some money, make your parents proud. Become a contributing member of society instead of a leech.
Is there a way to like control who? Is there a way to open up like a dialogue for chat rooms that like it moderates things automatically, but also informs people that what they're doing is not constructive.
Yeah.
Like, can we collectively conceive of something like that?
Yeah, so it's not like a policing.
Like now, like
it's
make the commitment right now. It's not policing. It's just a way to,
like as a community.
I don't know how to say it. Yeah, there's got to be like a language we could create that is like, it's hard.
Well, speaking of language, Mike, I know you've got a poem yourself. I don't know if you wanted to read it, or if you just want to blast into your fantasy.
But just do this, and I'll just knock out my fucking fantasy because I'm really not feeling it right now. I can give 0 fucks right now. Okay. Some warning about that. Okay. I was at a nonprofit meeting for this nonprofit that I worked at, where we worked in public schools, and someone started a meeting by saying that. Started the presentation. No, I'm really stressed out, so I kind of give 0 fucks right now.
Ooh, that's
yeah. Oh, Jesus, that's what I said to myself. No one batted an eyelash.
Yeah, you can't give any attention.
Did people laugh at that? Were they like chuckling?
They were just staring straight ahead.
Ugh.
They just didn't respond in any way.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyways, that's why I said that. Okay, you guys ready?
Yeah.
This is called a poem. I've just been thinking about a lot of stuff. This is called The Dirt. The dirt won't come off my skin. I scrub and I scrub, but it does nothing. My skin becomes so raw to the touch. If you touched me, I would bleed. My skin would tear, and I would just blow away in the wind. My wife hands me a knife. Do it, she says. You might as well. No one would care if you weren't here. She walks out of the room and continues looking at her phone. I hear her laughing to herself in the other room. Maybe the dinks are right. I have committed a sin. A sin that I cannot undo. Childbirth. I have brought a child into the world. Not a leashless dog. Not a cat on a leash. In the park. But a human. Another sinner like me. Someone who will drive a car. Who will fly a plane. Someone who will vote. And use bottled water. Sweet and sour packets. Condoms. And do more harm to our planet. I am a criminal. I am a sinner. I am beyond forgiveness. And I am a father. And I have no excuse. No remorse for me. No recourse. I have made a new sinner for you to deal with.
Oh, so man, that's powerful. That's really powerful.
Thanks, man. There's just a lot going on right now.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty. You're pretty hard on yourself in that poem.
Usually, when I share poems, I don't really like to talk about them afterwards. You guys can talk about it if you want.
No. Go ahead.
Have you guys? I threw a concept at you guys the other day. It was okay, so I threw a concept to you guys the other week. Let me lighten up. Let me knock out this fantasy, okay? It was called poisonous rose. And I asked you guys, what does that mean to you? What do you guys think of that? And I just thought the concept was so compelling. Poisonous rose. Nathan said something really insightful. He says, "It's something beautiful that you find yourself attracted to, but you know it's bad for you." And I was like, oh my God, that's actually such a good way to look at it. And that just really got my wheels going. After I came up with this fantasy while I was watching The Accountant 2. Have you seen it, John?
I did, yeah.
Yeah. Bernthal's really firing on all 6 cylinders in that one.
Yeah. Big
It
time.
really changes character. Okay. Did you guys know that song Stigmata by Ministry? Have you ever heard it?
I probably have. But
Probably, yeah.
I'm gonna use it for this part. For me to probably be playing like right now, at the beginning. Because it's just kind of the edge that this fantasy. I'm sorry, John, I'm boring you. You're cradling your head.
No, I'm fine.
No, you're cradling your head, and it's like I'm boring you. So let me just knock this out, because who gives a flying fuck about what I have to say? And then we can get to John's fantasy. Okay, so just so you guys know, backstage at the theater, anything goes. In this fantasy, I'm dating someone who's in the theater. Picture her. Brown hair, red lipstick. Okay, she's on stage, and she's doing a performance where she's wearing like kabuki makeup, and it's super intense. That's also edgy, and there's like trans people in it, and there's people like performing like sex on the stage, and that's cut up with like avant-garde dance and like lube and like glitters on stage, but it's like kabuki, and there's like leather and lace, and there's like a part where they play like heavy metal in it, and that's like what, and the lights are flashing really fast, but then it'll go back to like classical music, you know what I mean? And the set pieces look like some of that like fancy French shit and those old ass buildings and stuff, you know what I'm saying? And so I'm sitting there, and I just have a big smile on my face, because I know later on I'm going home with this woman to our apartment. We've been dating for a really long time. It's her birthday, and I'm holding 2 roses in my hand. We're driving home. It's a black Lexus, tinted windows. It's completely silent in the car. She's in the front seat. She's not talking to me. Super tense. And I'm like, I really liked your show. It was so good, so moving. Every time I see it, I've seen it like 10 times. It's so good. She's like, thank you. It was a very intense show today. It was different than the other shows. It was really good. I said, yes, I could tell. No mistakes. It was perfect. Just like you. I love you. I look over her. She's just staring straight ahead like a robot. Okay. We get to my, can't tell if it's a condo or an apartment, but it looks like really slick. Okay. Okay. And we get in there, and there's like, it looks like really cool. There's like neon. There's like weird parts that are lit up like from underneath. You know what I mean? Like there'll be a dresser, and it's like lit up underneath it with like blue light. And it's like really dark in there, and there's a really spare. There'll be like a desk light that's made out of gold, but it's like really big, and it's like pointing right at the ceiling. Like one of those bendable desk lights. You know what I'm talking about, John?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like even one of these things that's holding the mic. It's like that, but it's like, what do you call that? Okay, so it's like one of these bending lights. So it's like one of those, and it's gold. It looks really big. I have a cause sculpture in the corner, like one of the big characters or something like that. And so it's pretty cool. And I say, darling, come with me to the bedroom. I open up the door to the bedroom, And there's one of the other actresses from the production that she's been flirting with, and her eyes light up. And this person's wearing lingerie. And there's a camera set up and a monitor next to and a widescreen TV next to the camera. And I take her hand and I'm like, enjoy yourself. She goes in there and she's licking her lips. You know what I mean? I go to another room in the basement and there's a camera and a monitor down there. Okay. And there's like a imagine like a leather cross, and it's horizontal and it has a hole where the crotch would be. I get on this thing face down. My penis goes through the hole. Okay. And the camera's pointing at my face. On her monitor, it's just a close up of my face. Okay. And they're like making out and stuff. And I'm like having a hard time looking at them because it like hurts because I'm in love with her so much. And I'm like looking away and like looking back, and like my eyes are lighting up and I'm gritting my teeth, but I'm like happy and sad at the same time. You know what I mean? It's a close up of my face on this monitor, and that's what she sees. And so while she's like making out with this woman in lingerie, they take off their underwear and are eating each other out. And then they switch positions. One of the women is eating the other one out from behind. And the one that's getting eaten out is playing with a sex toy on her own stuff and spitting on it. And then she turns around, they're kissing each other. And then she uses the sex toy on my girlfriend. And then my girlfriend uses a sex toy on her. And then they're just like both using it at the same time. It's kind of a toy that you can use at the same time. And they're climaxing. Well, before they climax, they're like, stop, don't do that again. And then they go back to making out, drinking some wine, and they get back into it again with another sex toy. And then they're eating each other out 69 style, rolling around like that, clenching the blankets and stuff. And you can see my face making these expressions. I'm sweating, gritting my teeth and stuff like that. They climax like 4 or 5 times. All in all, it's like a 2-hour experience where they're just like really relishing each other's bodies in a sexual, lesbianistic way. Okay. And they finish up and they're panting, and then the screen goes black. Okay, but now you're like, wait, what was I doing? It's just a close up of my face. In my room, there's 2 guys that are like really buff, like in a disgusting way, like bulbously muscular. You know what I mean? Like these guys can't like wear normal clothes. Like if they had jeans, like their thighs would rip open in the jeans and stuff like that. And they're both wearing like leather masks, and they have hairy chests and stuff, and they have like huge asses and like huge genitals. They're taking turns like sodomizing me while this is happening. Okay. And there's a bucket below. Remember I said there's a hole in the cross? My erect penis is shooting through that and just gooping stuff out. Okay. So one guy has his member inside of my anus, and it's hitting my prostate in such a way that it's just like spraying like sperm out, just like milking a cow. Okay. And so I'm like, that's why I'm like clenching my teeth and stuff, because this whole time I'm getting like done by this guy, and I'm like giving one of the other guys like pleasuring them with my hand. You know what I mean? They're pleasuring each other, but basically contact with my anus does not stop. So this bucket is all filled with stuff. Once the camera goes off in that room, they set me free, and then I'm like, okay, time to shine. Okay. And I'm super aggressive. Even though these guys are really strong, I have chains around their necks. Okay. And I'm basically waterboarding them with my bucket of sperm, as well as spit that was in there, because they're also taking turns blowing me like a cow would. Okay. So I'm sodomizing these guys like super hard. I'm doing one guy from behind, and another guy is doing me from behind. Okay, but I'm also like reaching around and stroking this guy, the guy I'm doing from behind. I'm massaging his penis, and I'm grabbing his sperm that's coming out, and it's just jutting out because we're all super turned on. And I'm just mashing it into his hair and like styling his hair into devil horns. Okay, and this bucket is just getting more and more filled with like spit and sperm, and I'm being super aggressive, like almost like torturing these guys. Like they seem like they're not going to get out of there. sodomizing them and stuff like that. Okay, so it's like really crazy. Okay, whatever. It's just like the floor is really slimy. It's like pretty gross. I go back upstairs. I tell these guys, I throw some money on the floor and get a little more sperm on the money. I take the money and I mash it in my hands, ball it up, and sperm. You know what I mean? It's basically like a wad of cash, but it's like $300. You know what I mean? And I shove it in this guy's mouth who's basically like passed out from just like laughing so hard. I go upstairs, shower. We're both showering. It's like one of those huge showers. It's like a waterfall. So we're like both on each corners of it, and we're both like huddled in different corners, like hugging our arms and stuff, like shaking because we're just so drained. You know what I mean? And then like I look at her and I can see she's just as like emotionally rocked as I am. I go up behind her and I hug her and we both just start crying. Okay. And I've just enough strength to carry her to the bed. She's wearing like a long robe. And I lay her down, and right as I lay her down, I like collapse. Like my face is like planted on her stomach, and I'm like snoring and like spasming at the same time. I come to, and she just has a wet cloth, and she's just wiping my forehead with this warm cloth. It's like imagine like a really nice room with like a really nice sheets. Looks like a hotel. Everything's all beige as shit and is dimly lit. And the temperature is perfect, and there's a widescreen TV, and there's a new movie on HBO. I've done this before. There's a new movie on HBO that like you just want to watch. You know what I mean? And you're just like so relieved that there's something like you actually want to watch on television so that you don't have to be bored that night. You know, it's starring like actors that you're familiar with, and they're taking on roles that are like so absurd at this point. Like it'll be like Benedict Cumberbatch is at I've been working on this idea for a while. Benedict Cumberbatch is like an overworked dad, and he's taking his trashy white trash kids to Six Flags Great America, and he accidentally gave them Monster Energy drinks in the car, and he's super stressed out, like on the verge of a heart attack. His face is beat red. He's chasing these kids around. And you're like, this is kind of funny, but it's also like so crazy to see him taking on this role. Like, what the fuck is going on? This is crazy. So while that's happening, we're passionately making sex in like a really tender way. She starts massaging my penis, and I start becoming sexually aroused. Okay. And then I start like grabbing her genitals and starts getting wet, and we just have like lazy sex, like missionary style, but we're both so like exhausted and tired it feels like extra warm. You ever get so tired you feel like high and like kind of relaxed and stupid? It's kind of like that. And I bust, and it feels like one of those busts that just keeps going. And you're just like, why now? Why like this? It isn't normally like this. Did I eat something weird? Is it because of the beets I ate earlier on or something? So anyways, okay. So after that point, something happens in our relationship, and she just like straight up wants to destroy me. In our couples therapy, she keeps just like bringing stuff up that didn't happen. So now the couple therapist is just like out to get me and like torturing me inside of these sessions because she thinks I'm a bad person. So that really pisses me off. She calls me a liar, so the therapist doesn't believe anything I say. Okay, she takes my credit card and is just like running all my money into the ground. She writes a fucking fake novel about me under a pseudonym, just like trashing me. And this is really bad for business. I'm like a tech guy or some shit. I have some business. So it's like all this gossip is coming out about me, and it's like costing me like millions of dollars. Okay, and she basically is ignoring me, has moved out, and has like poured bleach all over my clothes and stuff like that. It's the closing night of her show. It's a hit. I show up. I'm in the front fucking row. Okay. She sees me on stage and runs off stage when it's her time to shine during her dancing solo. But then comes out and finishes it up, but she's like shaky, and it's kind of weird. I go backstage, and this guy, this other dude that is like a younger version of me who is like better than me in every way. You know what I mean? Like, I'm stingy, he's generous. I'm bald, he has a lot of hair. I'm old, he's fit. You know what I mean? He has really strong arms and shit like that. So he's like, bro, she doesn't want to talk to you. I'm like, just let me fucking talk to her. I knock this guy out. I push him against the wall and I run. This is backstage. And I run to her dressing room. And I have 2 roses. And I'm grabbing the roses so hard that the thorns are cutting into my fucking hand. You know what I mean? I have my hand just through the door. Everyone's pulling me away. And I'm like, fuck, what should I call her? I'm like, Jenny, take the roses. Jenny! You know what I mean? She grabs the roses and she says really quietly, stop. But the people don't hear it. And then she yells, stop, really loud. You know what I mean? And I notice that her hand is squeezing the roses as well, and the blood is dripping down onto my hand. And she lets me in and closes the door. That's it. That's the end.
Wow.
Powerful.
Thanks.
So what's the point? Yeah,
I gotta
where's
say,
the
what's the point?
poison, Rose? What do you think? What's the point of that? No, that was incredibly sexy. I absolutely know the point. But you brought up this idea of a poisonous rose, and the rose imagery is there. I'm just curious, and there might not be an answer for this, but what's the poison?
I thought it was pretty clear. It's like there's a part where she like ruins me financially, like slanders me, and like,
yeah,
for no good reason, turns the couple's therapist against me. She's just kind of a damaged person. You know, she can't help it, but in a way,
yeah,
she
hurts you. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, well, think about poison in nature. It's a defense, right? So it's just she feels. I mean, that's her defense.
People are the way they are for a reason.
It's to hurt you.
So.
Yeah, and man, you got blown the fuck out hanging on that cross.
Thanks, man.
Imagine how that place must have smelled.
Bucket.
That basement room.
Oof.
A lot of leather.
Spit.
I mean, there's a communal bucket.
Yeah, that's
between 3 dudes.
Really foul.
Yeah. Yeah, sweaty as fuck. Because those Leatherman outfits are not.
Well, that's why they call it getting dirty.
Yeah, leather, sweat, AJ.
I styled one guy's hair with slime. I made him my little dolly.
Yeah.
So.
And you said they were huge too, right?
Yeah.
And they're like these bulbous guys. I mean, you can't even say they're fit. They're just like bulbous. They're round guys.
Yeah. Okay.
That's so cool. It's so sexy. It's powerful. Really, you really paint a picture of your lifestyle. Is I think another part of the fantasy. It's just being able to like, effortlessly. Like I imagine your apartment or your condo having an area in the living room where you walk down a couple steps, and you're in just like a different part of the living room. It's like sunken down lower from the rest of the it's the house. It's like an open floor plan, but what defines the living room is that it's sunk down a little bit.
Where I have 2 floors in a tall building. Sorry, John, what's up?
Yeah, exactly.
So Nathan, you're picturing like 4 stairs down and he can still see like upstairs. Yeah. A suburban.
Yeah, like beautiful view of the city.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just like,
that's cool.
It's like set in, yeah. Hey, John, how long do you think you would last in a situation like what Mike was in the basement?
Just a pack of guys filling me up. Not long.
Yeah. I might tap out after like 5 or 10 minutes.
Yeah, I think I would be trying to impress them by how much I could take, but I think once I came,
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I'd be like, okay, all right.
Yeah.
But imagine the look on your face when they're like, nope,
Oh,
we're not done.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, fuck, I have to work tomorrow.
Yeah. I don't even know what a respectable amount of time is in a situation like that, but I feel like I would try to feel it out and be like, okay, this is like read the room, you know? Be like, okay, this is a time I can kind of like tap out.
Yeah, like why don't you guys do something together for a little bit? We'll just sit back and watch.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can take it easy.
But you're like smoking and playing
Yeah.
on your phone.
Get some chips or something.
Yeah, playing Plants vs Zombies on your phone and smoking.
That would be cool to have some snacks, yeah. Maybe like a low tin, like a thing you use for like bobbing for apples, but it's filled with like chips, maybe some bananas. Couple small bottles of water, room temperature.
Yeah, a fruit salad that you take out of the fridge.
That'd be cool.
That'd be cool.
That's me. I'm done. One and done. I'm done.
Really cool. You want to go, Mike? Man, I mean, John.
Yeah, I'll go. All right. I feel like I've done a bunch of these where I'm like a Richard Branson type guy, but I am again. I'm like a tech guy. I'm a tech guy at like the end of his career. I had like a Spotify type company and owned some AI stuff, owned some military companies, like multi-billionaire guy. But my career's slowing down, so I'm starting to get into like treasure hunting and like just going through history books and trying to find, just find different tombs and all this, fun shit. And I have like a online presence where I, make videos of the stuff, and it's like got a good following. And my agent Nathan comes up with a plan. He says, "Why don't you, you ever think about maybe putting together a little treasure chest and, having people come and, try to find a treasure?" And I agree, and I think it's a good idea. And he said, maybe you write a poem or something along those lines. And I'm like, yeah, I could write a poem. That'd be perfect. So I write, I put together what I want to throw in this treasure chest. It's like a bunch of, there's coins, there's necklaces, rubies, jewelry, just all sorts of shit. A couple $1 million worth of stuff. I spent a couple of weeks writing a poem, and it goes like this. In shadows where the old oak stands, a tale of treasure hidden in the sands. Count the stones, 1, 2, 3. The path winds near the ancient tree. Where the brook sings soft and low, dig beneath the willow's bow. A gleam of gold, a silver key. Unlock the chest, your prize shall be. But heed the stars that light the night. Their twinkling gaze will guide your sight. For in this quest, beware the tests. True treasure lies in the heart's quest. So we put it out there, and after like a month, there's no real engagement with it. Everyone sort of thinks it's kind of like a bullshit thing. So I'm not really too worried about it. So I kind of forget that I did it. And so like a few months turns into years, and I have not thought of it. I randomly start getting phone calls asking if the treasure's been found. My agent at this point has been long gone. I fired him over just some, whatever. Just didn't really need him anymore. A friend of mine tells me that he saw that there's interest in the treasure chest again, and tells me to go on Reddit. I go on Reddit, and there's like a huge community like talking about this. and there's people starting to go to like Wyoming and Colorado, like big like fishing areas, because I don't know, they saw something in the poem that sort of sent them there, and they're pretty far from where I'm at, but they do it anyways. People start like using their life savings to travel to find this. Like there's like hundreds of thousands of people like out in national parks, like digging up holes and shit like that, and it's beginning to be like a problem. All the major news networks start doing they do a piece on it about how, you know, like the national parks are sort of being overwhelmed with people illegally digging, and there's a lot of theories about, you know, if the treasure's real, since it's like 10 years at this point, no one's found anything. I haven't dropped any new clues, and people start digging into my past. Someone reads my autobiography that I wrote in the 80s, which was called Mine for the Taking. And I wrote that in like 83. And it keeps getting brought up in news stories because there's a lot of, you know, I was doing a lot of cocaine then. So there's a lot of stories in there about me sort of mistreating, you know, employees, and a lot of sort of fucked up sex shit that I threw in there. Things that could potentially be illegal. And so I basically become like a sort of like a poster boy, like just like a target for the far left, you know, just like of who you should not be, you know, like this is why, you know, capitalism's bad and America sucks, is people like this. And so I'm pretty much canceled at this point. And people are still looking, and I'm no longer engaging in it. And then I decide that I'm just completely done. And Nathan, my old agent, decides to write a poem, sort of like for me, because I'm completely out of the loop. So he writes it and he puts this poem out, and it goes: "In the glow of candlelight, we find delight, tender meat, seasoned right, a savory bite, juicy morsels, flavors bold, a feast of stories waiting to be told, with fingers dancing on the bone, each bite a treasure richly grown, savoring each the essence divine, in this moment of the intertwined. Laughter blends with the clink of glass, time slows down, let this moment pass, eat it off the bone, a joyous tune, in every taste the summer moon." So it's years later. This has been like a 15-year thing happening, and I'm like a recluse, you know, like I don't, I'm nowhere to be found. I'm like burning through my money. I take a walk. I live like upstate New York. I take a walk in the woods near my house. It's like, I don't know, 7:00. It's starting to get dark. And I walk up to a large group of people that are sort of setting up like a campsite. There's a few people that are digging holes, and I walk up and I you know, say hello, and they all look at me and they start cheering. And I'm like, holy shit, like, are you guys treasure hunters? And they're like, yeah, we found it. I'm like, and I start to I begin to start telling them that, like, at this point, I don't even know where the treasure is. I said, it's you know, like, it's definitely not in upstate New York. And this guy walks up to me and he said, well, it is here. And I say, okay, well, it might be, I don't really remember. It's been a long time. And he grabs my crotch and unzips my pants. He starts fondling me a little bit, and everyone starts. There's like 20 people. They all start looking, and he's like, "Guys, this is the treasure." And I'm like, and everyone sort of like walks in. I'm in this circle. Everyone sort of walks in, like kind of gives me like this hug. People are like crying and shit. Hands are just reaching at my genitals, and I get taken down to the ground, and then like 20 people are blowing me up. Like everyone's just, one hand will be on it, like they're just like using it as like a lollipop. And I ejaculate, and everyone cleans me up. Like all of them take turns just like lapping it up off my stomach. And I asked the guy, so what was what was that? And he said, your last poem. And I said, what last poem? I was like, I only wrote one poem. He's like, no, you wrote a final poem like 6 years ago about, eating it off the bone to a joyous tune, in every taste the summer moon. And I said, sorry, but I didn't write that. And that's the end of the fantasy.
Oh, the treasure at the tip, it called to me, shimmering like the stars upon the sea, with a squirt of joy and a kiss so sweet. The box held secrets no soul could meet.
That's interesting. So Nathan did it for you.
Nathan, yes.
Did Nathan know that that's like what you needed?
I think Nathan was doing that. I think Nathan was doing that to maybe show up at sites like this, and maybe, I don't know, somehow get himself a little blowjob somehow. Just sort of snake his way into being a creator.
Yeah, I mean, the way I read it as the poem as being the poem that Nathan wrote was about eating that coochie off the bone.
Well,
so it's interesting.
Interesting.
What's up?
Coochie or dick,
It's poetry.
Yeah.
Poetry. It could be whatever you want it to be.
And so, and so maybe Nathan wrote it for his girlfriend or something at some point, and to help drop her panties, and then just like put it out there, penned it for you, like put your name on it and put it out there. I was also
thinking that the guy that initially blew me could have been Nathan. Like he always wanted
eat you off the bone,
to take me down.
Yeah.
What if you lost your memory?
Well, I think there's some of that.
Something happened.
I'm like 75 at this point, so I'm like,
yeah, and it's like, oh, once you blast, you're like, oh fuck, Nathan. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you were falling off the bone.
Yeah.
Like you were ready to go. Like you didn't even you just gave in. It's almost like part of you, like your body knew what it wanted and knew it was going to happen.
I feel like there was, after I got canceled, there was a whole like, I don't know, maybe Rogan, like,
yeah,
maybe his crew was like, this guy ain't too fucking bad. And then there was like a resurgence.
He made this whole world. This guy made this whole world. It's totally crazy.
He's got all the money in the world, and he's still out there somewhere living on his own. Wants nothing to do with the rest of the world. Isn't that just absolutely mind blowing?
It's crazy.
Oh man. God, it must have felt cool to have all those people be licking the clown off your stomach.
That's cool.
You know?
Yeah.
It's like, when you go like put your face up to a cat's mouth, and sometimes they'll lick your forehead. You know,
And they're
felt
happy
like
to
that.
do it. They're so happy.
They're happy,
know?
and it's not. I'm like, I'm old. I've had most of my wild sex. I never
Nothing
thought I'd
like
get
that.
blown by 20 people.
They love you.
They love me.
Wow.
I imagine this exact same thing happening to Will Smith at some point.
I don't know. This guy's troubled.
Because he talked about there's a bottom and then there's the top of the cliff.
Okay.
And there's the bottom where you hit rock bottom, and everything is like taken from you or whatever. And then you're at the top of the cliff is the opposite of that, where you have access to everything you could ever want in your life, and nothing works anymore.
Yeah.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
Just a side note, something about Will Smith's really been sticking with me. He was in this movie where he was a slave. I forget what it was called. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
While he was promoting it, he was saying that racism is still so alive in America that when they were shooting that movie, another actor spit on him during a take. Can you believe he said that?
That's funny because it probably happened, but in the context of like character.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. He accidentally spittle came out of his mouth by accident.
Yeah, or the role called for there was a take where they're like, okay, spit on.
Yeah,
spit on.
He thinks whatever. Whatever.
Yeah, his mind is really. It's a strange place. Yeah. I can't make heads or tails of it. But yeah, that was extremely hot.
Yeah, very hot, dude. Definitely.
Yeah. Speaking of hot, go ahead, Mike, man. Speaking of hot, my fantasy takes place in Florida. I've been working on my transitions.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm a young, in my fantasy, I'm a young stud. I'm Somalian. I came over when I was in my in middle school, and so I'm an immigrant. I'm all about getting that money, right? So as soon as I'm able to, I start doing rideshare stuff. I can't afford a bike, so I do that bike share, and I'm pedaling my happy ass around Miami, dropping off food for people and toiletries and things like that. And I scrape and scrounge and I work 18-hour days, and I make enough money where I can actually buy my own moped. And so now I'm zipping around. Now I'm making way more money because I can get from point A to point B so much faster. And I am absolutely cutthroat. I will be the first one on that ticket, and I will be the last one to clock out at the end of the night. And I'm just grinding, making that money. And after a while, I can earn up a little bit more money for a second moped, and then a third moped, and a fourth moped. And now I'm renting out mopeds to other immigrants that come in and want to get on their grind and be about that paper. So I'm like 19, 20 at this point, and I got fucking a good future ahead of me right now. Pulled myself up from the bottom, and I start to have a business, and I'm not only in Miami, I'm in Fort Lauderdale, I'm in Tampa, I'm in Orlando, I'm in Tallahassee, I'm in Jacksonville, Quad Cities. I've got a franchise up in Atlanta, and so I'm doing very well for myself. And all thanks to this kind of American way of life. That I've come to love. Like, only in America could a guy like me make it this, just be this wealthy. And not only do I like the kind of pull myself up from my bootstraps kind of vibe that America has, I'm also into like the freedom of expression, like sexual expression. I'm becoming like the more money I get, and I'm starting to distance myself more from my Somalian, like my more conservative Somalian upbringing, around sexuality. I'm exploring all of the fruits and textures of the American sexual experience, and I'm just kind of like expanding my sexual repertoire, as much as I possibly can. Um, all the while, slowly but surely, the America that I've come to love has the tides have started to shift. The political tides have started to shift. There's a really strong tension in the air, and I'm not particularly like politically engaged, but you can't help but notice like there's just a lot of hostility between genders, right? So like we hear talk about the gender war and the impending gender war that's going to happen, and in this world that I'm living in, like you start to see it palpably. Like you start seeing laws getting passed, you start seeing segregation, you start seeing, the once implicit bias start to become explicit in so many ways. And as a reaction to this, like deep in my heart, I want to bring people together. Like I want to fix this. I'm not comfortable with this. And so I go and get a McMansion adjacent to West Palm Beach, do it up really nice. It looks like an Airbnb that you would get by the ocean. It's got a lot of like nautical themed stuff in it. It's got light blue and white color scheme. All the furniture is like white, a lot of wicker. And I established a blast house, basically, is what it is. It's just like, there's 8 bedrooms, and each one of these bedrooms is outfitted with a king sized bed. And I just open it up to the community as like a social space where people can come in and fuck and have just explore all sorts of different sexual avenues with each other. There's just a couple of rules. First rule is there's no turning tricks in there. It's not a place meant for you to make money there. And the second rule is if you're in the process of like fucking and sucking and pleasuring people and getting pleasured yourself, you come up with some kind of new way of fucking or new way of getting pleasured or pleasuring someone else. You just have to share it with the community. So it's like an incubator. So you have 8 rooms cranking 24/7 round the clock. You go in there with your partner or your group or whatever. You get a room for an hour and you just go at it. And you come out of it at the end of the night, and if you found out something new, you found out that there's like a pussy within the pussy, or you found out a new G spot, or you found out like a different technique, you just go down to the common area and you hang out and you share it with everybody. There's a social space. There's there's a fridge with C4 energy drinks, water. There's a cooler full of cucumber water. There's tea, there's slippers and robes. And this is all financed by me and my money. Like nobody pays a dime. You just kind of come in here and hang out and fuck and talk, and lots of towels for people to towel off. And there's a big drain in the center of the floor, so it's just nobody has to worry about anything like cleaning up after themselves. And there's a couple of just like staffed people that are paid employees that live there. It's kind of like an RA situation. So as this kind of like gender war starts to tension, I've got this beautiful community where like the different genders can come and everybody can be themselves and there's no limitations.
Coconut scents mixed with salty air. Candles flicker soft light everywhere. Every soul finds their space to heal. Hands on love of the joy we feel. Steam rising conversations flow. No judgment here. Let your true self show. From sunrise glow to the moonlit tide. This Florida home where spirits reside.
But sure enough, as the fist tightens and this fascist patriarchy comes in and they see this as a threat. They don't want a place where women can explore their sexuality. They don't want a place where there's commingling of genders, so they shut it down. And I am absolutely devastated. But if one thing is for sure, I am not a quitter. I never have been. I'm a grinder, right? So I start thinking, and I'm like, okay, what can I do? So I go and I buy a boat. and it's a pretty big boat. It's like a yacht. And my plan is I go out to international waters, and I can, instead of having a blast house, I can have a blast boat where people can just go out there and blast and have fun. And so I sail it out by myself. I sail it out to international waters, and I'm just kind of like floating around and trying to find the right spot for it. I'm smoking just blowing endless kush the whole time, getting drunk out in the sun. I find a sandbar, I set up a chair there, and I'm just day drinking and doing absolute monster bong rips, and drinking Ensure meal replacements. And I like fall asleep on the boat. I just kind of like pass out in the sun, and I fail to realize that there's a hurricane coming. I'm just kind of like floating along, and in the sense, in a perfect storm in every sense of the word, like this hurricane is coming and putting my life in danger, but also the gender war is escalating back on the mainland, and first blood is drawn, and it's drawn by the women. What went down in history as Fuck Night, and Fuck Night is a night where all the women in the world coordinated an assault, where they, on the same night, they seduce their men, partners in whatever capacity, and kill them at night when they're at their most horniest. And it's a major blow to the male gender. We lose 70% of our population, and it's all the guys that fuck. So we're left with the incels, the dateless wonders, the guys who just are not good at having sex with women. So they just don't have, nobody wants to be around them ever. While this whole thing is going on, I'm just like passed out on this yacht, and this hurricane is whipping me around, right? And I'm shipwrecked, and I float onto the shore of Cuba off the coast of Florida. In the, 48 hours, 24, 48 hours, whatever, that I've been out to sea, women have expelled every man from Cuba and take it as a stronghold. They have a nuke there from the Cold War era. They see it as like a point of that they can kind of form a resistance movement. And so here I am washing up on the shore, just completely oblivious to any of this stuff, passed out, dehydrated. A group of armed women pick me up. I can barely make out what's happening, but I notice one of them smelling my dick and saying to the other women, this guy's a fuck god. I know this guy's a fuck god. They take me inside. I'm being like poked and prodded. I get like a full medical battery. They're like looking inside my mouth, looking at my eyes, like looking in my anus, and basically like you would inspect cattle if you're going to buy them. And I'm thrown into a cell, right? It all happens really quickly. I don't know what the hell's going on. Like I gather like what has happened, and I'm in some kind of confinement. And the next morning I'm dragged into a room and sat down on a chair, and it's like an empty room with a bed, folding table with a whole bunch of different clubs and knives and rubber hoses. And I'm like, oh shit, I'm going to get tortured. Falling into some like enemy, like POW type situation. And there's a two-way mirror, and I hear over a speaker, I hear, next up is Cindy. Cindy wants you to stare directly ahead, no eye contact, and you're going to be subservient to whatever it is that she wants to do. And if you don't, then you will be shocked. And I notice I have a shock collar on. And they give me a shock, and it's incredibly uncomfortable. Like I damn near shit my pants. I'm like, fuck, what is happening? What is happening? And they just keep shocking me until I stop talking. Woman walks in, nothing special, just kind of like run-of-the-mill woman. I'm hooked onto this apparatus that is to like a series of metal rods that allows the woman to kind of put me in whatever position they want. And she starts to undo my pants. I notice also I have an IV of a liquid. I've been rock hard this entire time. She spits on my dick, gets me lubricated, inserts me inside of her, and she starts to pleasure me in a very kind of like mechanical way until I ejaculate. She takes my nut, snatches it, walks over to the torture table, picks out a hose, and just proceeds to beat me for another, 40 minutes. And this happens every hour on the hour for about 8 hours. Right? So one day turns into 2 days, turns into 3 days, turns into a week, turns into a month, turns into a year. And what I have gathered in this time is that I'm basically being used as like a fuck bag where women can come and steal my nut for purposes of procreation in their new society. That's completely separate from men. And then they can also beat me or whatever. And what I've also come to found is like a lot of women will come in there and they'll just want to talk to me. They want me to tell me about their day, and I'm not allowed to talk to them. Not allowed to, but what I am allowed to do is make eye contact and nod and listen. And so I just get to learn a lot about the different women that come in. It's never the same woman twice. But I'm like, for a moment there, I just get like a window into the lives of these women. And I start to understand like what it means to be in the society that they're in. It seems kind of nice. It seems almost utopian. And they keep me in this like cell, right? And they started out treating me very poorly, but then they start to kind of treat me well, right? They treat me kind of like a valued pet. They like, there's a hole I can stick my head in, and they'll wash my hair and groom me, and there's another hole that I stick my hands in and I can get manicures, and they actually enjoy taking care of me. They really like taking care of me, almost to the point where it's too much. Like my file my nails down too far, or like I can only get my hair styled so much. And they all get to vote on how they want my body to look, right? So they're like, every year they take a vote and they're like, okay, next year we want you to look fit, slender, like a runner's body, not too muscular. And the next year they're like, okay, we want you to put on some muscle, some bulk. So they kind of shape me and groom me however they want. And, I get to read a bunch of books. They bring a bunch of like James Corbin books in there, John Grisham, Tom Clancy books, really fun, exciting books. They give me an espresso machine. So here I am, this big muscular dude, and I've got these giant muscular hands, and I'm sipping espresso in this tiny little cup, and I'm holding a book with the other hand, and just kind of like both shell-shocked, but also just because of this constant torture, but also like being content and taken care of. And so this goes on for probably like 10 years. I'm just being held captive and just being this fuck bag for this, community of women. And one night I'm woken up to gunfire and bombs dropping, and I there's a big detonation, and the side of the cell wall gets blown open, and a whole bunch of men in like Navy SEAL gear come in, and they're like, let's go, get him out. So they pick me up and they drag me out, and they like sling me over their shoulder, and they're running out, and there's bullets whizzing past us, and they get beyond like the perimeter of this base that they were keeping me in, out into the jungle, right? And there's like a search party trying to find them, and so we're just kind of like hunkered down for a while, and I'm trying to figure out what the fuck is going on. And so they start, they introduce themselves one by one, or like, I'm Sergeant so-and-so, I'm from Birmingham, Alabama, I'm Sergeant John Davis, I'm from Indianapolis, Indiana, blah, blah, blah. And so they're like, you're one of the fuckbags we heard about, right? Oh man, it's an honor to meet you. I'm glad we were able to get you out of there. We're going to take you back home. We're going to set you up real nice. You're going to be like a, basically like a hero that survived this crazy time. And I'm like, I don't even know what America's like anymore. I have no fucking idea. They're like, oh, it's great. It's all dudes. It's absolutely incredible. You can have any car you want, walking down the street. If you see a car you like, you can drive it. The pornography is out of control. It's amazing. Like, there's no hunting seasons. You can hunt whenever you want. You're not going to miss women at all. Like, seriously, like if you think about it, like if you have a guy sucking you off, it's going to feel a lot better than a woman sucking you off, because the guy knows what he's doing down there, you know? So like, yeah, we fuck each other and it's no big deal. Like, you get used to it. And at the end of the day, it actually feels better. You don't miss having women at all. And I'm like, oh, okay. And so, nightfall, it's like you start to see the morning like sun barely starts to creep over the jungle, and I'm like kind of like huddled up underneath a tree, and there's one guy on watch, and the other seals are like trying to catch some sleep before they eventually have to go out. One of the guys is he's got some MREs, which is like the food rations, and he's like, "Hey, hungry? You want something to eat?" And I'm like, yeah. And he pulls out an MRE, and I'm like, "Oh, you know what? I'm not really into Salisbury steak. Do you have something else?" He's like, "Yeah, let me go check." So he walks over to another bag, and I pick up his gun, and I shoot and kill all of the Navy SEALs from behind. And I throw the gun down on the ground, and I walk back to the base and go into the cell and lock the door and go back to sleep. Shortly after, like, there's a peace deal is struck, and things have to go back to the way they are.
Uh-huh.
And so I'm released back into the world, and it turns out I have like 600 kids that I have to take care of. And that's the end of the fantasy.
Wow.
Monkey paw.
So that's
Can you imagine that? 600 baby mamas, 600 kids.
that's a lot.
I'm never seeing a dime for myself ever again.
Yeah, that's for sure. Better get started on those dishes.
Yeah.
Wow.
My favorite thing was that there was no hunting season anymore. Just hunt whenever you want.
Yeah, you can just hunt whenever you want.
It's cool.
I really thought this fantasy was going to be all of us hanging out in Florida together.
Oh, that's a cool fantasy. That's good. I mean, that could be a reality.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
I love
You
you
know,
being a
fantasize
Somalian.
Yeah, I wear like tracksuits, a lot of soccer shirts.
Yeah.
You know.
There's the part where you have the really goes all over the place. I'm still trying to wrap my head around it. Mostly because it was just so extremely arousing. So like it was difficult to pay attention to all of it, to keep up with it. I felt like something was being done to me while I was listening to it. You know, like I wasn't in control of the situation.
Yeah.
So I just let's back it up a little bit. I think you buried a lot. So all right. So this is a fantasy. This is a fantasy of yours. Your body. This is a fantasy you created because you want it on some level, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So there's a part of you that wants to facilitate, like, people, not even participate in, but just facilitate a space for people to have sex with one another. 8 rooms, a drain in the floor. This one really spoke to me. So, like, what are you doing, like, while people are taking advantage of these rooms?
Yeah. So I'm just hanging out there mostly. I'm socializing. I'm like the glue that keeps like everything together there, you know? So I'm like, hey, we need more toilet paper in the bathroom, but I'm also walking around and be like, hey, what's going on? How'd you guys find out about us? Oh, that's cool. You're from out of town? Great. Oh, San Diego. That's great weather there.
So you're like
I'm like walking around.
You're
schmoozing.
managing people, but you're also like a friendly host.
Yes, exactly.
Would you say you're like needed in this situation?
No, this is like a big part of this is so there's like philosophically so there's just a lot of like a fuck curate, like people can just fuck as much as possible and to try to develop like an incubator situation to try to develop new fuck styles and stuff. And part of it is just like a built-in social thing for me.
Okay.
You know? It's almost like bring people in who are in the sex community, sexually minded, and then I can hang out and talk with them.
Okay.
Like I end up fucking.
Okay,
sure.
so then a gender war breaks out. You have to go on a boat where you move this thing, and at that point, you're feeling pretty depressed. You're smoking a bunch of weed and eating what is it, like these food supplements or something?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I just want to go step by step because it's so much now.
Yeah.
I don't care if we go over. I gotta take care of this. I have to figure this out. So then you're fantasizing about kind of being like on the brink of apocalypse, like it's a dire situation, you know?
Yeah. War breaks
out. Then
while I'm out to
then
sea.
you're turned into like a sex slave for women, like Amazon women, because they're kind of like poking and prodding you. They're like curious. They're kind of like caveman like. Is that right?
And this is this is 48
Yeah.
hours later, right?
Yeah. Yeah, they see me as like a cum bag.
What was it about?
You know, like to kind
Are
of.
they
what was
making
it about-
babies? Okay.
Yeah, they're making babies.
What was it about your smell?
I don't know if I made that
What
clear.
was it about your like when she smelled your dick?
They smell my.
They just
Yeah, she knew
just
I
smelled
fucked.
pussy on it.
They knew I knew how to fuck.
Oh, right. They thought you were a god.
Yeah, they knew I was a fuck god.
But it kind of ends.
They knew.
Okay, so that
because they killed all the guys that
Yeah,
fucked. You
they
know?
killed all the competition. Yeah, you keep bringing up everyone else is like trash. They become the only people left are incels and like undesirable people. You're an F word. You're
So
an
the
F
slam
word
pigs
god.
are dead. Yes.
But you also want to be in that situation a little bit, where you're kind of like a slave a little bit.
Wait. Hold on. There's people shooting outside
Whoa.
my house.
Like really bad, like really close.
Pretty close.
God.
Okay, never mind. Let's stop.
So whatever. So you want to be in that situation then, though. You prefer it over the man's world.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel taken care of.
It comes with a lot of responsibility, though. You have 800 kids.
Yeah. More than I bargained for.
Well, that about wraps it up. I mean, that's pretty cool. Cool fantasy. Yeah. What's up, Nathan? What's going on?
Just two, just heard one gun and then another gun, like return fire. This is crazy. So it's two people shooting at each other.
Does that happen there a lot?
So everybody's like once a year,
Yeah.
something will happen.
Same here. It's crazy. Kind of
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
There was like two cars
Yeah.
driving down the street shooting at each other a couple months ago.
It's crazy. Yeah. So, we're just getting a bunch of people texting like, "Oh, what was that?"
Oh, cool.
Crazy.
Yeah. So that's what distracted me. Yeah. So I'm glad you guys liked it. I'm glad you guys found it was horny and sexual, and it was really difficult to connect with because it was so all over the place.
It's just epic. You know, there's a lot going on. It's a big story.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is. It spans a lot of. It's like a kind of like a Forrest Gump thing. Here's this fuck guy just making his way, this dick man just making his way through the world.
Yeah.
Just grinding it out and finds himself smack dab in the middle of all these historic situations.